I'm excited to say that since I completed the bridge over the Englehart River, things have been moving along really nicely on my Ontario Northland Railway. And one of those things was the building and completion of my north of Englehart staging yard. There were a number of things I wanted to consider. On a previous staging yard on my Okanagan Valley Railway, I had set up with toggle switches to shut off the tracks, because the last thing I want to do is run a bunch of DCC sound units when they're actually in the staging yard. What's the point? So shut them off. It also saves you a bit on your amperage, which you can focus on the engines that you actually want to run at the time. The other thing I had to take into consideration was this staging yard was going behind the washer and dryer. So with clothes being washed and dust in the air and all that, I decided I needed to have a way to cover the staging yard up and protect everything that's inside of it. So come along with me as I show you how I did it. For materials, I used a piece of extra shelving, which I actually had cut into width so it would fit behind the washer and dryer, and a matching piece of Homosote on top. And the next thing I had to do is carefully measure how that would match up perfectly with the actual layout itself, and then marked where I wanted to put the shelving units. A friend of mine was visiting one day, and he so kindly helped me put the shelves in a nice and level, which made the staging yard match up perfectly with the layout as planned. Although on the part of the layout that would be visible, I used code 83 track, which I actually do prefer. For the staging yard, I had lots of extra code 100 from my previous layout, so I decided just to use code 100 in the staging yard. Next on my list was to build the sides and the end as well as the roof of the staging yard using 1/8 inch thin plywood. And then what I did is I painted black because I basically wanted the staging yard to kind of disappear in the background. I secured the sides and the end using white glue, and then I braced them with pieces of wood and heavy objects that I could find, as you can see here, weights and even the big glue bottle itself, in order to make sure that it was square. I then took a piece of 1/2 inch foam insulation, cut it to length, painted it black as well, and glued it in place so that if the train got to the end of the track, that was basically going to be a nice soft cushion instead of them hitting the hard plywood. Using the benchwork portion where the Englehart yard was about to go, I used that as a place to prop up the staging yard and spike down the track. With the track spiked in place, I then placed the staging yard on the brackets. It is not fastened in any way to the brackets in case I need to remove the staging yard for purposes of track maintenance or what have you. As you can see, the tracks actually come onto the layout itself. That's so that I can create a gap on the layout in the track, because as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to isolate those tracks so I could shut them off when the trains are not in use. Next up, I had to paint the lid, as I hadn't done that when I did the walls and the end piece. So I did that as seen here. And then I placed the lid on top of the staging yard as seen in the picture here. And you can see it clearly behind the washer and dryer, fits in there nicely. And then here's another view from the layout side looking into the staging yard. As an afterthought, one thing I did not want to have happen was the lid to not be placed properly and to fall on top of the trains in the staging yard. So I built these little tabs as seen here, extending out over the staging yard. So I put the lid on, the lid would not slide down and damage my either engines and or rolling stock. With the staging yard in place, I then laid track from the Englehart Bridge to the staging track. As you can see, I've also started on the Englehart Yard. You can see 2 tracks curving off to the left. I wired up the staging tracks by sending leads up to the bottom of rail joiners within the staging yard itself. That way the wires are nicely hidden. One of the wires runs directly into the power bus system, or the main wire, and the other wire goes to one of the 3 light switches. As you can see here, I just used your very basic light switches. They're actually quite inexpensive and they look pretty decent. So 1 for each track. And the pieces of tape just marked, I crudely numbered what track was which in the beginning just for my own purpose and reference. Now all I had to do was test the staging track, which as you can see in this picture here with the headlights on, it was a complete success. Now, just to show I'm not pulling the wool over your eyes, here's a couple videos to show just that. Enjoy. If you enjoyed watching this video, please click like, and if you want to see more videos on model trains and real trains, please subscribe now.